excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the state. Imagine when somebody is feeling it for Moses and he decided to run commentary in my ears before coming on air. All right, guys, football remains the #1 sport in Nigeria and a national asset. But the question I want to ask right now is the fact that what are we doing with it? Are we actually maximizing our sports potentials? Are the sports infrastructure in fantastic shapes right now is the question I'm asking. So to our viewers at home, your guesses are right as mine. We are having Real Talk on football today. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk Wiki. Of course, I remain your convener, Kikelo Matanda. And I have one of the Real Talkers on the platform today. He said he's not feeling fine. We are not all feeling fine. Can somebody tell Marshall, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm beautiful. I'm feeling very, very fine.
They're feeling fine now.
It is,
Let me call you out on national TV.
Hi guys, it's good to have you join us on the show today. My name is Marshall Anthony Onoya. This is the Real Talk with Kike show. And as usual, we are here to serve you quality content. Welcome.
All right. In 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari set up a 13-members panel to probe two of his predecessors, late Umar Musa Yar'Adua and, of course, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, on procurement of arms and ammunition for the armed forces. Let's get some facts on this day in history segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
On this day in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari set up a 13-member panel to probe two of his predecessors, late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, on procurement of arms and ammunition for the armed forces. The investigative committee's mandate was to identify irregularities and make recommendations for streamlining the procurement process in the armed forces. The committee, which was constituted by the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, retired, on the directive of the President, is headed by AVM John Ude, retired, while Brigadier General Y.I. Shalangwa is Secretary. Other members are Rear Admiral J.A. Aikomu, retired, Rear Admiral E. Ugbo, retired, Brigadier General L. Adekagun, retired, Brigadier General M. Aminu Kanu, retired, Brigadier General N. Rimtip, retired, Commodore T.D. Ikoli, Air Commodore U. Mohammed, retired, Air Commodore I. Shafi, Colonel A.A. Aribi, GP Captain C.A. Oriaku, retired, and Mr. I. Magu, EFCC.
All right, on this day in history segment, Marshall, did you get that? What's your take on it?
Well, it's on the probe. Well, the arms deal. There's always been crisis on the arms deal. Even recently, right currently in the President Muhammad Buhari's administration, there is. I mean, you've seen videos of soldiers protesting that they are ill-equipped. They don't have enough ammunition to combat the insurgents, the militants that they are asked to go fight with. This is because of corruption in the system, in the military system. This should not be heard of. We hear of corruption in a democratic setting. We hear of parliamentarians and public office holders, misappropriating funds. But when it is now in the military sector, in the armed forces, it is something that you would want to say is appalling. So when that investigation started, I actually thought I was waiting to see President Goodluck Jonathan being called to answer, to some of these inquiries, but it never happened. It's something about the immunity that they carry, But yeah, it's good to remember that some kind of investigation was done on that matter.
All right, so talking about probe, I, for one, I'm not actually, I really don't support all these committees that they create year in, year out. I just feel that it has become a culture in our country today. And yes, this happened exactly 2015. And like the video said, it was about 30 members panel to probe two of his predecessors. And I want to say that talking about President Goodluck Jonathan, I just felt that there was nothing that could stain him. Actually, that is the reason why we didn't hear anything. That's the truth. Because I feel that there are quite a number of probes that have happened when it was not in the corridor of power anymore. Yeah, you might talk about immunity that they carry and all of that, but I've seen that in this country, when the other sitting president, so to speak, want to bring you down, they look for all sorts of issues to stay your wife.
But they're not unfounded.
When you say they're not unfounded, I just feel that, yes, even though I know that it's for them to identify the regulations and the recommendation of what's it called, streamline the procurement armed forces, so to speak. Yes, like every other organization, there are department that has all this procurement and all of that. But at the same time, yes, we might say that the armed forces are not properly equipped and all of that. But let's bring it down to this present administration. Are the armed forces actually equipped? We've seen what is going on in other sectors as well, where you will see quite a number of them are yet equipped and the likes and all of that. Hence the reason why you see that all sort of committees being created. For how long are we going to continue to create committees and yet there are no results? Do you understand? So I just feel that, yes, history is reminding us of what happened in 2015, but as it changed is a question I'm putting out there. On that note, I think it's time for us to get a quick message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Of course, our trending story says that President Muhammadu Buhari set a 13-member panel on probing arms procurement, just like our this day in history have even pointed at, just like I was saying. Our major story for today's Real Talk is about, the endorsement of the 10-year football master presented by a 12-man panel in Abuja, speaking about football. And I just felt that Nigerian football performs excellently, if you ask me. And some occasions, let's say sometimes, we actually fail woefully. We obviously know that these are issues of incompetencies, if you ask me, and of course mismanagement, poor funding, wastage of talent in our sports system. However, President Muhammadu Buhari endorsed the 10-year football master plan on Tuesday at the Aso Rock, like I said earlier, and vowed to ensure that its compliances will take place. I was actually, it's a bit laughable, but the master plan is filled with recommendations on laws and, of course, policies that will govern the administration of football in Nigeria. But speaking about the 10 years plan, we have a member of that committee on the show today, joining us from our Abuja studio. Please stay with us. Let's get a bit of his profile. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Multina, share happiness.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. While we're still trying to connect to our Abuja studio, I think it's important for us to touch on our trending issues quickly. But before then, we just have Lola in the studio. Gosh, when it comes to Lagos road, you have no control over it. I'm not talking about Marshall. I'm talking about you.
Yeah, there's no control. Honestly, I wonder why it would take 2 hours to just get from Lekki Toll to VI here. They said the trailer broke down after the toll gate and everybody had to turn back. So we all had to take the Oniru route. So you can imagine from there into VI was totally locked up to Etimiang. All the inroads were just locked. And the NBA conference is going on. So that means Hamadu Bello Way too is tied. I apologize.
All right, it's good to have you here. I will say sorry for all this share, but quickly let's touch on one of the trending story before we connect to our guest. I understand that our guest is on standby now, but the Falcons, Falconets rather, were stranded, and NFF shifts blames. You know, listening to this trending, so to speak, I was like, okay, you know what? Let me hold my breath. Masha, let me come to you quickly. What's your take on this?
I hear that they were in the connecting. They were supposed to
connect
they were en route, coming back to Nigeria en route Istanbul, and they couldn't afford a hotel. Kike, we've said this thing like more than 5 times. We've featured stories like this. We have featured a story where the athletes abroad, they were washing their own jerseys. They had to repeat jersey, and then we also had athletes abroad begging for funds to afford tickets to come back. Here we are now. This isn't really, it wasn't really a case of being stranded, so to speak, that they couldn't come home. It was a case of delayed flight, I guess, and then they couldn't afford a hotel room. Appalling. I mean, we should have a kind of relationship, bilateral relationship with some countries that it will just take a very junior government official to place a call across to officials in that country to say, get these guys in a hotel room or something.
I don't even think it's about the money. They said they don't have like a visa into Istanbul.
Into the city.
So into the city, so they could not even leave the airport. And you're wondering that somebody booked this ticket. You know, a layover of about 24 hours or more is on it, and you didn't make any preparation. Just like you said, bilateral relations. Nigeria is a great country.
Don't we have an embassy there?
We do have an embassy. Just a little concession could have been made that, okay, you guys can just be in a hotel, and from there we'll just convey you. You don't have the opportunity to go into town to sightsee or anything. But to see our women, and they did a lot of good. They tried in this tournament they went for. They really pushed hard. Now see them sleeping on the floor like, you know, destitute or people that have, you know, it's just appalling and very disappointing. Honestly.
All right. Marshall, I hear you. Lola, I hear you. But, you know, honestly, I would have wanted not to toe the line of criticism or blame our NFF for poor flight or welfare arrangements. But at the same time, I just feel that, you know, the Falconet then, you know, I just feel that they have no choice but to blame them, blame them as far as I'm concerned, in the sense that, you know, I feel that they should have done better. I feel that at this moment, obviously the reasons that they gave were not making sense to anybody in terms of, you know, sportsmanship, not feeling proud to present themselves in any situation that they found themselves right now. What would it cost us? Let me start from there, you know, to arrange a single direct flight for the Falconet back home is what also came to mind, you know, listening to this. And the transfer visa, you know, I felt that, you know, in Turkey there should be some a way that they can get transfer visas, you know, at the Turkey airport. Yes, I want to also bring it back to Airpeace. I felt that Airpeace is the official partner of the NFF. In one way or the other, how come they could not place a call to the CEO of Airpeace to say that, okay, no, why can't they arrange for a simple, each free air transport for them back home? I just feel that it's just a disgrace, and it has become a culture again. I think that everything that we do in Nigeria, because there's no accountability, holding our people to certain actions, hence the reason why it keeps happening. It has become a norm that, you know, after all of this has been put on the digital platform, they start seeing them come up with all sorts of excuses, you know, and those excuses most times doesn't really make sense. Guys, you know, we just have to put this and put a wrap to it. All right, quickly, I want to say many thanks to our guest right now. Are you there, sir? All right, we are still having issues right now, so let's quickly touch on the second trending story, so we know that by the time we are done, we would just go straight to the topic at hand. I think the second trending story that caught our attention is that of the National Parent Teachers Association that decided that they were willing to pay 10,000 levy to support universities. Lolo, let me come to you. Or maybe I should start with Masha, because Masha owns the school. Masha, what's your take on this?
I think we should start with Lolo. Why?
No, let me come to you, because you're a teacher. What's your take on this?
It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing?
Listen. So, it's a beautiful thing, if you ask me. It's a beautiful gesture. As to whether or not it's workable, that remains the thoughts. these are parents. When we say Parents Teachers Association, not really PTA of secondary schools or primary schools. We're talking about parents who have their children and their words in tertiary education. They are the ones coming together to say, look, can we put up some kind of tuition relief fund for teachers, for lecturers, to ease the tension and, this ASU strike and all of that. My question is, what about students who are self-sponsoring themselves? There's already enough burden on these guys who are self-sponsoring themselves. Many people work and go to school and fend for themselves without having parents. Where would you put them? You would still find the association or whoever is responsible for this levying this category of people as well for this 10,000. That is the area in which I say it doesn't make sense. But if parents want to come together and voluntarily want to put up 10,000 naira for teachers, it's a good thing. I mean, we do that at the primary, secondary levels where PTA fund is raised.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm a bit worried for us in the country, for our government. Just as Marshall said, this is just a thought from parents that if you have a child in the university, the burden will be on you right now. Because there are no holiday jobs like when we were younger that you can just go to places and intern. Even some places of some workplaces are charging for you to bring your child to work there. True. They will tell you to pay them. So it's not like you can gainfully employ your children. Everybody is just fishing for solutions. I think that's why the Parents Association have come up with this one. But you know that when it comes to gathering of money, anywhere in Nigeria, corruption will be at the bottom of it. By the time they say parents start to gather money, you start to hear news of indiscrepancies. You start to hear that, oh, this is how much they remitted to government.
Or how much time
how much they might have raised. All these kinds of things will begin to occur. That one is even on the flip side of it. But this now shows that it makes me feel like we have no government. Because what's the essence of having our government, our leadership, allow our children to be at home for 7 months unresolved? It's a different thing if, let's say that maybe they have come to some reasonable resolutions as they are still working on more resolution. But we have had 0 resolution since this started. That means we do not even know when this is going to end. So everybody is just doing, what can we do?
The parents are saying, if government
cannot
do it,
let's see what we can do to alleviate the suffering of some of these lecturers.
All right, while I understand that what could they have done in this instance, I also want to use this opportunity to say, let me thank them for their good intentions for the future of the Nigerian youth. But I'm sure that what they are proposing for me, I think, is out of frustration, so to speak, and tiredness of the ASU strike after 7 months of no education. Anyways, is it a shame on the part of the government for not placing education as priority? The answer is yes. So if they were placed on priority, I'm sure that would have settled this within few days. I would also want to use this medium, if you ask me, to urge parents to be cautious about the action they want to take. We've got certain things wrong. I feel that continuity is paramount. I do not want a situation that the question will be that since parents are offering that they would like to do certain things because they cannot continue to even feed the children. Imagine a home that has 4 kids at home. Do you know how much that means to actually feed these young children? So for how long will they continue to say they want to pay 10,000 naira? Is what came to mind, and to which management is also what came to mind, and how will it be managed is also what came to mind. And as far as I'm concerned, is there going to be transparency and accountability with all these Nigerian federal universities, with all the funds that at the moment that quite a number of people cannot actually several payments or like this cannot be accounted for? Marsha was talking about acceptance level earlier, and I feel that even that alone cannot be accounted for in most schools when it comes to development levels, when it comes to admission levels and the likes and all. I feel that all these funds, there's something that they can use it to incur in most schools. However, my advice right now is that for us to allow ASU to fight for their rights and have these issues settled once and for all. It doesn't matter if they can be at home for 7 months. Might as well wait for the whole calendar year to make sure that all of this is sorted out. Don't forget that this present administration will be wrapping up in the next few months. So I feel that governments right now, they should just, they should just step up to this and try to resolve all these issues. In as much as I know that our political leaders right now are concentrating on election, but that is one of the challenges we are facing because they've not prioritized education. I think on this note, it's important for us to go on a quick break and connect to our guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Let me quickly use this opportunity to welcome Mr. Ikedi. It's a pleasure to have you in our Abuja studio. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
All right, let's go straight to the topic at hand, because many Nigerians would have wondered, an outgoing administration of over 7 years has, however, have come to, let's say, the president now is now saying that they are endorsing a 10-year plan, even vowing that to commit to the 10-year plan, so to speak. Few months for them to leave the office. But the question is it not the usual culture of another administration coming into power and this becomes a forgotten master plan? What is the way forward with this? Did you hear me? Are you there, Mr. Kennedy? Did you hear me?
No, I'm okay. It's just that it goes on and off. But I heard your question. We should be more concerned with trying to see by raising issues that will sound as if we do not need to improve football. Whether it takes 7 years before this idea came up or it took 7 months, I think the more important thing is that the idea has come up and that there is a plan. This plan can be implemented if those who are around football, stakeholders, who love the game, want the plan to be implemented. Otherwise, it will not be implemented, whether it was started 2 years ago or 7 years earlier. So I don't think the issue of time is what we should be dealing with. We should look at that plan. If we have any contributions to make or things we think could be improved on it, I think those are the things we deal with. Because the plan itself also comes with time frames for evaluation of its implementation. And then during those evaluations, if things are not working the way they should have worked, there are also provisions for improving the plan as it goes on. So I think that should be where our concerns should be centered. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiti, for joining us on the show. In Nigeria, we know this is not the first time that we'll be hearing very, very interesting master plans. You hear Vision 2020, Vision 2030. But it seems that in Nigeria, it's a matter of semantics. A lot of people will question the timing of this master plan. And they would say that, what can we do as at this moment when we have just a few more months before the present administration will be, giving way for the next government? And I'm wondering that our football governing body in Nigeria, would you not say that they've had enough time to have implemented something that would have moved our sports forward in the country long before now? Did you hear me, sir?
Okay, I hear you. We can either decide to share blames, shift blames, or do something about our football. The football governing body is doing something. And I wish everybody has access to this. The master plan is available, and people should put it up for others to read. It centers a lot on issues of inclusiveness. Football today is being run as if it belongs to certain people who spend a lot of time ensuring that others who could contribute ideas or harvest other resources for football are excluded. An example I'll give you is women. There is no provision for women to be in that executive committee of football with all the women are doing for football and all they will still do. So this master plan, for example, proposes that statutorily there should be a vice president of Nigeria Football Federation who should be a woman. There's also a provision for somebody from the women's league, but while deciding on that, we knew that that position could easily be occupied by a man who claims to own the club in the league. So that was why that specific provision was made for a woman at that level. That is one. Secondly, it also comes up with what we call a football pyramid, the idea of which is to harvest all the football resources, whether at the local government level and so on, all these competitions that are played, and make talents emerging from them available for selection, international teams, club, professional football, as the case may be. So it's a very big plan for football. It's not exhaustive. There is nothing that could have been exhaustive, but people should give it a chance. Time is not the issue. How long it took the government to do it is not the issue. The number of reports we've done in the past is not an issue. As I've said elsewhere, if you're a farmer, you plant your maize and locust destroys it, you will not say you won't farm again. If you're a farmer, you still go on, you might plant one that the locust might not destroy, and in the process, you look for a way to ensure that locust does not destroy what you've been planting. There have been lots of locusts in our football, and this master plan is meant to ensure that they do not destroy football. Unlike parasites you see in human beings who realize that if they kill their hosts, they are gone also. Our football is being run in such a way that people don't seem to mind if they kill it. And the master plan comes with suggestions, which the present authorities will have to adopt if they please. But we are asking and wishing that they adopt them because it's for the good of Nigeria's football. The football is not any individual's own. It belongs to Nigeria. And if it does, the government of Nigeria says, we have inputs to make on how to run this football. And we're not making inputs that will kill the game. So people should look at them and stop giving excuses that other plans didn't work. It should be mandatory on them as it were, since they love the game. That's what they tell us. They make sacrifices. They leave their businesses because of the game. Let them make the extra sacrifice of finding that time to implement this master plan.
Well done, sir. For me, I have so many questions in my head, and I do know that this show will not be enough to really pour out these questions. But one thing that aches my heart is, I mean, presenting a master plan on football, we seem to have the culture of fefferity and razzmatazz, glitz and glamour over not too much. I'm wondering, why is the fefferity, or why is there seems to be a festivity around presenting a master plan? Isn't that a normal thing that the ministry should be saddled with? Come up with suggestions on how to move the ministry or the football federation forward. Why is it so celebrated? Can you give me cogent reason why it's so loud and celebrated?
I wish it was celebrated. It's not being celebrated. It's all that being condemned. What the Minister of Sports have done is to take the issues of football right to the president. And I think in some way we should applaud the fact that he went that far and the president accepted that report and made very strong statements about improving our football. As I say, it's Nigeria's football. The issues with FIFA and so on will be between NFF and FIFA. But if you're talking about developing football, there are facilities to build, and NFF does not have the capacity to build. It hasn't even shown any inclination
I hope you
to
can
build
hear me,
these
sir.
capacities.
I hope you can hear me, sir. I hope you can hear me,
I
sir.
heard your question.
Yes.
Heard your question.
If you said the minister
Please,
went that
finish.
far.
Please, let me finish.
I'll let you
me
finish. Go ahead, sir.
Let's not interrupt each other. Let me finish. Nobody is celebrating it. What we are saying is that government had said, let's make investments in football through a plan. Government has roles to play. The schools, facilities you're going to put in schools and in local governments and so on, most of them will come through government, not NFF. And you need the powers and approval of the president to drive that type of thing. So that's why the report had to go there. Nobody is celebrating it the way you're saying. But as I said earlier, I wish people understand the importance of this and celebrate it. Thank you.
Thanks for your submission right now. I wish I can touch about the 12-men panel that consists yeah, because I know that Chief Segun Odegbami, Mr. Sunday Olisa, and the current Minister for Sport is actually amongst them, because I know that at the end of the day, you know, they will not be available in the coming administration. But moving on to, I want to move on to what's it called, talent identification now. Sir, you know, creating a appropriate system of talent identification through appropriate structures and operational parameters for schools, I think is very paramount and important to me, if you ask me, especially when it comes to the academics and the youth clubs, which I feel that is part of the strategic goals that we are supposed to be looking at the moment. So let me ask you, sir, what operational parameters are we putting in place to hold the future of the likes of Toby Amuson from running out of the country to be developed elsewhere? What's your take on it?
Okay. The whole idea is, if we get football running properly, and it gets the resources it needs from government, from private sector, we could free a lot of attention that we can use for other sports. What will make them to run out of the country is not what we should be looking at. What we should look at is to produce quality athletes who go out there and become professionals. They're not running out of the country. They're going to where the opportunities are and making a living there. So if you have opportunities here, you're organizing competition that will keep them busy and get them employed, they will stay here. But the world is such that it's a global village. People go to where the best opportunities are. Would you say an athlete from another country in Europe, if he's from England and is playing in Spain or running in Spain or is based there, is running out from his country? No. He or she is looking for where the best opportunities are. What this master plan, for example, does is that it makes provisions, makes projections, plans that will make it possible that we produce quality people who could go out of Nigeria and compete with the best. We are not having enough of such numbers, and that affects the things we do, including team selection. So whether it's through the academies, the school system, or even people just playing on the street, which some other individuals can also find a way of getting them into the system, what we are looking at is how to produce top quality football players, top quality football officials, referees, every single manpower needed in the football production chain is covered by the master plan, so that we have world-class players, world-class officials, and world-class facilities to deal with this. That's what the plan is about. It's not about stopping athletes from going abroad. No country is even doing that. Even the most developed countries, the athletes are going to where the best opportunities are found.
Your submission against Mr. Ikeji, you know, listening to you, I cannot help but ask, because I know that part of the plan is creating football funds and, of course, football economy, which will include the establishment of factories rather, for manufacturing of sports, football kits and equipment. I, for one, was a director under MTN Football Scholar for 5 years, and I mentored quite over 20 children that are presently outside the country at the moment. But we know that this administration has no money, so to speak. Let me start from there, because we keep borrowing. How do you plan to achieve this, if I may ask, with this plan?
It is a 10-year plan. It is a 10-year plan. The most important thing this will do is to institutionalize ways of running football professionally, right from the grassroots to the top. What we are doing now, the football pyramid that we have drawn is a proper triangle, you know, a big base where people will come in, and then you filter it to the top. What we are doing currently is the little resources we have, we put them up and run them on Super Eagles, sometimes maybe Falcons and what. But we are looking at the fact that if you grow football from down, there are a lot of opportunities for investors, for sponsors. It is not about government providing all the money. But what we have also done is that organize football properly, make it attractive to those who want to invest, whether they want to put up facilities, whether they want to set up clubs, they can also run it as a business. If we take off looking at money, how much does government have, and so on, nothing is going to work. We're looking at the fact that this plan, when implemented and followed up, it will create such an atmosphere for football that there will be investment and a lot of burden taken off government. But government still has responsibilities to put up facilities, whether at local government, state or federal level, because that's a social responsibility of government in terms of developing the youth of the country, particularly through sports in this instance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ikedi. We've talked a lot. I totally appreciate the question my colleague here put up about talents and the use of them and the discovery and the management of them. I'm looking at our facilities because those are the bedrock. That's the foundation of development. The national theaters, the national stadiums, you know, places of where sporting activities develop our youth in its totality. And if we are not focusing on the development, right now, I know that across the world, there are so many new technologies that are being implemented. We've seen covered stadiums that even when there's the weather is not tolerable, there are new innovations that they brought to stadiums and stadiums across the world. But here in Nigeria, how are we going to develop our facilities to be able to accommodate our teeming talents? Because Nigeria is not absent of, we are not suffering from a dearth of talents. But what do we do about the administration of our facilities?
Thank you. You grow from down to up. You grow from down to up. Those facilities you're talking about, individuals can actually build them. Governments also can also build them. But in those places you see them built that way, they're done as businesses. They're not only used for football, they're designed in such a way that they are useful for other purposes from which they generate income for their owners and so on. The master plan deals with issues like that, facilities and so on. But we're also interested in relation to developing talents and hunting them, and getting them into the national teams and so on. All of them can get into the national team. We are looking at ways of them being produced, and they are professional enough to go to anywhere in the world and excel. So the facilities we are looking at is not just necessarily the types you are talking about. We are looking at putting more facilities where these athletes are, in the grassroots. And some of them don't cost the type of money you're looking at or have the type of razzmatazz looking at in terms of roofs that can be drawn and so on. Again, at the national level itself, yes, we've had challenges for looking after our facilities, and those are also covered in the stadium. Manpower is required, expertise is required, the technology to do all those, they're also required. So the thing is that this plan looks at football totally. Other sports could also adopt it over time, but it looks at facilities, it looks at maintaining them, it looks at the issues around poor maintenance of facilities, part of which is they're not properly owned or government has them, but there are no funds for maintaining them. So are we going to partner with individuals to do that and so on and so forth? So all these are things that will be worked out during the implementation. But the issue of facilities is properly covered, and we made a lot of emphasis on facilities being, again, at the grassroots, whether it's a football field in a school or in the community or the one the local government decides to build. They all need to be well maintained so that these footballers are produced within some level of access to facilities that will improve their skills.
I think I would not be wrong if I say that the master plan dwelt on the administration of football more than talent hunt, because my host here had asked.
That's not what. Sorry, that's not what I said. Sorry,
Me.
I didn't say that.
No, well,
Ask me
I can
questions on
deduce
what I said. I didn't
my.
say it was.
So you're
Okay,
interrupting
go
me
on.
now, sir. My host asked a question about scouting for this talent and what provisions are made within the master plan for scouting and maintaining of those talents. And then my co-host here asked about maintaining already the facilities that we have. I'm going to ask again. We've had issues with legends, football legends, who have gone down in ruins, suffering from one health ailment or the other, and coming to the public to beg for funds to treat themselves. We've had cause to discuss this kind of topic on the show here, saying what is the government really putting in place for football legends to ensure that they remain a legend. Does your master plan, or does this master plan, make provision for taking care of such people?
Okay. Sorry, I start from the issue about talent hunting. I missed part of that question. There is a provision for a national database, and it's very important, and it's emphasized over and over again. So if people are playing, wherever they're playing in this country, at certain age groups and so on, there should be need to know what they're doing and put that in a database so they could be tracked. So that deals with the issue of the talent hunting and so on. Now, on the issue of players, a couple of things are involved. One, if we have a professional league system properly set up, those clubs at their retirement and so on would have had some way of looking after them. If we also set up properly at the national level, we should have been able to work out something for them. So the master plan has done a little beyond what you are looking at. There is provision for, when the Congress is expanded, for 5 members, 6 people actually, to be on the board. You understand that? 6 to be on the board, representing each zone. And the idea is that if players are on the board, they should be able to also bring up these issues, or former players bring up these issues. Now, people have also thought of they served Nigeria and they should be looked after. That again has become contentious. People are saying that other people served Nigeria in other capacities too. When we have pensioners who are not getting their pension, we have people with soldiers, policemen, civil servants, school teachers, who have been also falling into some trouble. So musicians, all types of people who have served, journalists, who have served Nigerians in various capacities. So the key thing is that we have to look at that holistically, by each sector coming up with plans to look after its own people. The sports people are more prominent because of they're in the limelight and they get a lot of exposure. But the master plan looks at welfare of athletes, whether they are serving, and that welfare plan runs through retirement. Part of that welfare plan is that as they are playing, they pick up some education and be able to do something post-competitive years. That is there. But issues of maybe when people fall in, we are dealing with a backlog, actually. So this is not covered in this plan because those issues are already there. So we have to find ways to deal with them. But going forward from this plan, there are provisions to look at the career of players, and as they progress, you advise, and we hope they listen, that they find some things to do along the line. Because there's also a provision where a lot of emphasis is laid on youth, education, and football. The idea being that at that young age, they should pay some attention to education, which will help them later in life if football doesn't work or when football stops working.
Many thanks for your submission again. I think it's important for me to quickly open the phone lines. I hope we still have time to take calls. Don't forget that you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 08098877400 showing on your screen right now. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook page and YouTube page on Real Talk with Kike, and of course on Silverbell platform. Sir, with all that you've shared thus far, 2 questions comes to mind. And the first question is, you have to contend with good laws and enforcement practices in Nigeria. For instance, After Nigeria lost in World Cup qualification match, the Abuja Stadium was badly destroyed. I think that was one of the lines that my girlfriend and co-host Lolo was referring to when it comes to most of the stadiums in Nigeria that have been destroyed. How do we want to manage the anger, inclination of Nigerians? That's the first question I want to ask you. And the second question is based on another submission which I picked from what you've just said, talking about training and preparation, which I feel that is a major factor that finishes us in a global competition, despite having great talents in this country. Yes, we have great talent. I've been in that in that corridor of power before, which makes me understand that. So what policies and laws do we want to harness our talents in good time for training and preparation? Those are the two questions I have for you, sir.
Okay, a master plan speaks in very broad terms. So it's not specific about, it's at the implementation stage that you have to draw up policies for specific things. But it's a broad master plan. Now we're talking of how to manage. The plan is not about managing the anger of Nigerians. It's not. Nigerians came to the stadium angry about so many things. That result, if it was favorable, it would have relieved them of that anger. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So how do you manage the anger of Nigerians? We expect, following this master plan, we will get good results consistently. I'm talking of the anger in the context of those who come to the stadium and so on. So, but in terms of policies, the policies will be drawn from those implementing it. Policies on training, policies on welfare of athletes, policies on training of coaches, referees, and so on. A lot of emphasis is placed in that plan on training of manpower, appropriate manpower for appropriate levels of need. Like the football, there's no grading of coaches yet. We don't have coaches who are graded as youth coaches, or coaches for the women's game, or coaches for certain age groups. So we just have coaches. So a lot of emphasis on that plan is how, using the National Institute for Sports, which is the agency, the government agency for training of sports people, that we can produce a
Apologies,
huge
sir.
number
I will have to interrupt your line of thought. Are you there, sir?
Various areas.
Are you there, sir? Can you hear me? Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of thought. We have Benjamin from Plateau State. Benjamin, please go straight to the topic at hand. Good afternoon. All right, apologies. For those who would like to contribute on this show, please, I will appreciate if you can tone down the volume of your TV set. Sir, with all that you've been sharing thus far, quickly, because I know that my co-hosts right there have a lot of questions for you, but I would like to ask you a direct question regarding appreciation of our talent, which I feel that is a key factor to work on. When Usman and Anthony Joshua, who were #1 in their fields, we celebrated them globally. The internet was buzzing. They both lost this weekend, and I don't think the presidency, I stand to be corrected, or the Minister of Sport reached out to them officially, knowing that they flaunt the Nigerian flag. What are we doing about this culture? I would like you to please answer that in 1 minute, sir, because of time.
I'm speaking about the master plan. I'm not speaking about who the Minister of Sports writes a letter to or not, or how we react to victories or losses. I'm speaking about the master plan for football. So let's not lump these things together. But even within that master plan, the behavior of officials is also emphasized at occasions and situations. So I'm not here, maybe because we are in a committee set up by the ministry. I'm not even speaking for the ministry. I'm speaking about the plan we worked on. So maybe if you see people from the, I don't work for the Ministry of Sports anyway. If you see people from the ministry and you have that question, you can ask them. Thank you.
It's a money-making venture. And if our clubs within the country are well-funded, well-organized, well-maintained, as much as they are those are places you can generate income from. So what is the provision in this master plan to make sure that our clubs are viable? I know that all the football fans in the world are watching English Premier League, we watch the Europa, the Italian Serie A. There's so many things that we watch around the world. But when it comes to our own local leagues, it's like a poverty-ridden, strata that is not gaining enough. What is the provision in the master plan for energizing our local clubs to make them very viable and profitable?
The emphasis on the league in the master plan is about licensing, proper licensing, and the fact that the clubs have to be run as businesses. If you have a club, you have to run it as a business. We missed that long ago. When professional football started in 1990, it was to be done. You have your own stadium within a certain number of years. You make provisions for insurance and so on. But then some things just didn't happen. And part of it was because most of the clubs were owned by state governments, and they wrote that aside. So our clubs should be very professional. You license them, they meet the conditions for being professional teams. And then part of what the master plan was also looking at is that you don't necessarily have to run those 20 teams and so on. It could be smaller. It could also be regional. It could be other leagues rather than the one that the NFF runs.
Hello, sir.
But they should be run professionally.
All right.
And in running them professionally, there are financial provisions they have to meet before they even set out as clubs.
All right. Many thanks, sir, for all your submission thus far. With that, we've come to the end of another edition of Real Talk with Kike. Indeed, I want to believe that we had an awesome show on today's edition on Real Talk with Kike. Courtesy you, of course, our resourceful guest, Mr. Kennedy Izugozo. I stand to be corrected. Thanks so much for honoring my invite, and of course to my co-host, thank you for keeping it real on this platform. We keep it real. With that, I want to tell our viewers, please remain kind and put a smile on people's faces. Bye now.